You know, here in the Northwest, we love the environment. We're proud of the fresh air that we get to breathe every day. But it turns out it's not so great everywhere in our states and in the Northwest. We're going to start tonight with a new air pollution report out from the state of Washington. It holds some disturbing conclusions for you folks living in the greater Vancouver area. So listen up. It's our big story tonight. Washington's legislature recently passed a law requiring the state's Department of Ecology to issue a report every 2 years on air pollution. Its goal is to identify the level of pollution in communities which it describes as historically overburdened with health, social, and environmental inequities and are highly impacted by air pollution, which led it to, among other places, Vancouver. Environmental reporter Cale Williams has our story.
If you live and breathe in Vancouver, your life could be shorter than your neighbors in other parts of the state.
We estimate that people aged 65 or older are twice as likely to die from air pollution that comes from human sources. That's what we were looking at.
Susan Woodward is with the Air Quality Program at the Washington Department of Ecology. Her agency just released a first-of-its-kind report that looks at the state of air pollution in Washington. The report identified 16 communities that have socioeconomic disadvantages and high levels of air pollution. Among them, parts of North and South Seattle, Spokane, and Vancouver.
We know that Vancouver is a transportation hub. It has heavy roadway use, it has trains, it has port activity. It's probably impacted by pollution sources across the Columbia River in Portland.
Residents of Vancouver are subject to high levels of particulate matter smaller than 2.5 micrometers, also known as PM 2.5. That kind of pollution comes from some familiar sources.
Things like wood stoves, heavy traffic and industry.
Particles that small are easily inhaled and can even cross into the bloodstream, which can lead to elevated rates of asthma, heart disease, lung cancer, and other cardiovascular diseases. That means people living in Vancouver have an average life expectancy about 2.5 years shorter than the rest of the state. And it isn't much better across the river, where residents of Multnomah County breathe the dirtiest air in Oregon. And like most environmental issues, it's worse for people of color and for older folks.
We found that older people of color, especially Black and Hispanic people, have a higher risk of death from breathing poor air compared to older white adults who live in their same community.
The report notes that people of color have been subject to racist policies for decades, like redlining. And that means they often live closer to the sources of pollution, like busy roads and industrial facilities. Woodward said it was important for people to pay attention to air quality and take precautions.
You can easily make a do-it-yourself air cleaner to remove tiny harmful particles in bad air.
The state has videos on its website on how to make affordable, do-it-yourself air purifiers.
Put a 20-inch furnace filter with a MERV rating between 11 and 14 on the back of the fan.
Beyond that, the state will also be doling out more than $10 million in grant money for community organizations working to clean up the air. And eventually, the state itself will be looking to clamp down on polluters. After many years of ignoring how air quality affects the state's most vulnerable residents, Woodward said the work is well past due.
We know that they have faced these injustices for sometimes decades, generations, and that this is why the environmental and air quality provision in the Climate Commitment Act is so important for us to start righting some of those past wrongs.
Cale joins me now, and Cale, as you know, I'm a bit of a skeptic when it comes to reports like this. That 2.5 years is a stunning number. How'd they come up with that?
Well, it's 2.4, so first, let's be accurate there. But it is, it's an estimate and it's an average. So it's not like every single person who lives in one of these communities is going to live exactly 2.4 years less than people who live outside of it. But I think the main thrust of the report that, air pollution causes poor health outcomes, poor health outcomes can cause premature deaths, which can lead to a shorter lifespan, I think that remains true.
And they left wildfire smoke out of that, which I saw in the report is the #1 cause of this PM 2.5 air pollutant. Why'd they do that?
Yeah, so when I talked to Susan Woodward from the Department of Ecology, she told me that, wildfire smoke is a big amorphous thing that is hard to track. It's hard to find the exact source. It moves over state lines, it moves internationally from Canada, from Montana, those types of things. It will be included next year, and so I think we'll have a much clearer picture on exactly what is coming from wood stoves in people's homes, what's coming from wildfires.
Yeah, because I could hear people saying by excluding that, you're magnifying the things that you did focus on.
And I think that could be possible, and I think when we get this report next year, we're going to find out a lot more about exactly which pollutants are causing which problems.
Okay, always interesting. Thank you, Cale. Appreciate it.
Sure thing.